Would you be willing to give your life for the gospel of Jesus Christ? Man, we just don't know until we get there. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today in our reading of the Pilgrim's Progress. Welcome to the Pilgrim's Progress Daily Devotional. Join me Monday through Friday as we journey through this timeless classic and grow in our faith together. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's get to the next one now. So here today in chapter 6 in our reading, we have got Christian and we have got Faithful, and they are in Vanity Fair. And this is some kind of a trial that they're in, and they're being falsely accused. Pretty rough, but let's check out the reading here today. So the men were brought in for questioning, and those in charge asked them where they came from, where they were headed, and why they were dressed so strangely. The pilgrims explained that they were travelers and strangers in this world, on their way to their own country, the heavenly Jerusalem. They said they had done nothing to provoke the people of the town or the merchants, except that when someone asked what they would buy, they answered that they would buy the truth. But the people who were questioning them didn't believe them. They thought the pilgrims were madmen or else troublemakers who had come to cause chaos at the fair. So they took the pilgrims, beat them, covered them in dirt, and put them in a cage to make them a spectacle for everyone at the fair. They were kept there for some time and became the targets of anyone who wanted to mock, hurt, or take revenge on them. The leader of the fair laughed at everything that happened to them. But the men were patient, not returning insult for insult, but instead blessing those who attacked them, responding with kind words instead of harsh ones. Some people at the fair, who were more thoughtful and less prejudiced than the others, began to criticize those who kept abusing the pilgrims. Because of this, they too were attacked by the crowd, who called them just as bad as the men in the cage and accused them of being allies. The angry mob threatened that they too would share in the pilgrims' misfortune. The others replied that as far as they could tell, these men were quiet and sober and didn't intend any harm to anyone. They even argued that there were others trading at the fair who deserved to be put in the cage or even in the pillory more than the men they had abused. After some back and forth, and with Christian and Faithful behaving wisely and calmly all the while, things escalated. People began to argue violently, and eventually, some of them started to fight each other, causing harm. The two poor men were then brought before their interrogators again, and they were accused of being responsible for the chaos that had just occurred at the fair. As a result, they were beaten severely, had irons chained on them, and were led around the fair in chains as an example and a warning to others, so that no one would dare to speak on their behalf or join them. But Christian and Faithful acted even more wisely and endured the shame and insults that were thrown at them with such patience and humility that it actually won over some of the people in the fair, though only a few compared to the rest. This, however, made their enemies even angrier, and they decided that these two men had to die. They declared that neither the cage nor the chains were enough. The men had to be put to death for the trouble they had caused and for deceiving the people of the fair. So, Christian and Faithful were sent back to the cage until a decision could be made about their fate. They were locked up again with their feet put in stocks. During this time, they remembered what their faithful friend Evangelist had told them, and they were more determined in their path and in their sufferings. Knowing that he had warned them these things would happen, they comforted each other, knowing that whoever had to suffer the most would actually have the best outcome. So each of them secretly hoped they would be the one chosen for that honor. However, they committed themselves to the wise plan of the one who rules everything, and they were content to remain in their current condition until they were given further direction. When a suitable time was set, they were brought out for their trial, leading to their expected condemnation. You know, for Christian and faithful, their suffering in Vanity Fair reminds us that we as Christians are seeking first the kingdom of God. We're going against the current of this world. It reminds me of those trout that swim upstream and then they get to those waterfalls and they have to jump and they go back and they jump. Well, that's what the Christian life is like. And anytime that trout, whenever it relaxes, it's just naturally going to go downstream, because the current is pulling us down. Well, the world and its current is doing the same thing with us. It is a constant battle to seek first the kingdom of God. It's going against the current and the stream of this world. And there for Christian and for faithful, the interesting thing about this is that their humility and their faithfulness through all of this is an example for us. So think about that today. As you're going against the current of the world, dear friend, is to remain faithful, to remain humble, and know that as you do this and seeking first the kingdom of God, ultimately your God, your King, is responsible for the outcome of your life today.